They say everything's bigger in Texas. I say football's bigger in Texas this season. Houston Texans at number 10. And when we get into the top 10, for me, any one of these teams are legit Super Bowl contending football teams. So let's get right into this roster. Talk about the strengths and weaknesses here. What could hold this team back from winning a Super Bowl? And why do I have them at number 10 and not number 1? Well, the offensive line would be probably my number one concern with this football team. Yes, they have added to this offensive line, and I know there are steep competition battles going on right now with this football team. D'Amico Ryans has made that a challenge for them, and for good reason. It was a problem for them last season, and I think it's what helped them back from being a championship caliber team. And starting from left to right here and looking at the tackle position first and foremost, which I have ranked 27th, it still is below average. However, I'm hearing nothing but good things from Ariante Ursaria in camp so far, which is good if they can actually hit on an offensive lineman. And also Ursaria, I thought he looked pretty dang. I mean, coming out of Minnesota, the guy is a dude is a behemoth. He's a monster run blocker, so he's going to set the tone in the run game, something they didn't really have last season. If you go back and really study some of that offensive line film, they didn't get a whole ton of push in the run game. Ursaria is going to do that. And whether he can be a true, reliable pass protector, that's what I'm going to be watching out for. But he definitely's got the size profile to do it. Just to me, I want to see that footwork at the next level versus some of the speed. If he can do that, man, he can be a top 10 tackle in the league. He's got the physical traits. Cam Robinson, those figures to be the starter at left tackle. However, don't be shocked if Ursaria ends up beating out Blake Fisher at right tackle, or even if they move Cam Robinson over to right tackle. That is a real thing that I would not be shocked about at all. I do think Ursaria could be better than Blake Fisher as of right now at this moment. Fisher definitely struggled last season. Just watching him out there, you can go and watch it, the playoffs or during the season. He struggled, and he's going to have to show some stuff this year. And a lot of these young guys, like Juice Shrugs, is going to be fighting for a roster spot. And you got Trent Brown, who's going to be fighting for a roster spot as well to make it. In terms of their swing tackles, though, it's going to be between Trent Brown, you got Zach Thomas, Austin Deculus. Those guys going to be competing for practice squad positions, in my opinion. I do think 9, at least that's what D'Amico Ryans has said, is 9 offensive linemen is where he wants to be at. So if you take that into consideration, you're looking at least I would say 4 tackles in here. So maybe Trent Brown, Ariante Ursaria, Cam Robinson, and Blake Fisher. On the interior, I think you're looking at about 5 guys they try to keep. So 2 reserve guys, and I have the guard ranking at 15 and the center ranking at 28. You got Leighton Tomlinson. Solid. He's steady Eddie. He's not elite at this point anymore, or he's not insane, but he'll get the job done. He's been reliable throughout his career. You got Titus Howard. He's been fine over at guard as well for this football team. So they're in a decent footing. It's not an elite group, and that's why I kind of rank them right in the middle. But you're going to have steep competition for those back roles between Juice Shrugs, Ed Ingram, Jalen Thomas. I'm hearing some good things out of camp. Now, Jake Andrews is going to be fighting Jared Patterson, which that to me is going to be a huge underrated competition as well. Having a good center, I always say this, when you have a good center and you have a good a couple of good tackles, you have a good offensive line. It's very, very nice when you have a center that can call out and help out your quarterback with protections and just get everything set at the line of scrimmage. Jared Patterson's been fine. I mean, could you upgrade? Absolutely. And we'll see how Jake Andrews goes in preseason. And when, if he gets an opportunity in the actual season, those 2 guys, finding a good center is just really important. For right now, 28th, I think, is a fair ranking. At least they've got some good competition. As we talk about it, though, will Juice Shrugs even make the roster? My guess is still yes, but he'll be in competition, I think, with Ed Ingram and Jalen Thomas to really fight that last position out. So overall, we'll see how it shapes up, but this offensive line has got to be better than last season if they want to make a deep run in the playoffs. Now, going on the wide receiving room, I do have Tank Dell still listed. Of course, he's probably going to be out for at least, a majority of the season, or if not all the season. Hopefully, the timetable gets a little quicker for him. But for right now, I have him pretty much done for the year. Jaden Higgins, Jalen Knoll, going to certainly help out this offense. It starts with Nico Collins. And all you fantasy people out there, take note. I think Nico Collins might be the number 1 wide receiver after this season. I'm calling it. I think Nico is going to have a tremendous season, barring injuries, which he's had some naggers here and there. But if he stays healthy, Nico Collins, wide receiver 1. I'm making the call. I really like Nico Collins, and I think he'll take that next step into the elite tier this season. Not to say he wasn't elite tier last year or anything, and he's been really good. But I think this year he's going to have an insane season. And then you got Christian Kirk coming over. He's still got juice in the tank. All right, I think Christian Kirk, he's just got to stay healthy as well. He's been banged up the past couple of seasons. So if he's healthy, Kirk is a good wide receiver. So you got Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel. I feel confident in those four guys going and starting into the season. And you're going to have steep competition for a fifth and sixth wide receiver position. Right now, it seems like Justin Watson, maybe Xavier Henderson, John Mechie, those guys are going to be really competing for that. Now, Braxton Berrios might be their best punt returner on the roster, so he could make a spot strictly for special teams. A dude to watch out for, at least in preseason from me, Daniel Jackson. I liked him coming out of Minnesota. Maybe he can make the roster. In general, though, this wide receiving room is a top 10 unit. Even without Tank Dell, I have him ranked at number 9. They've added so much young talent. You got a superstar with Nico, and you got a solid weapon with Christian Kirk. On to the tight end room, I rank this at 20th. It's nothing like I'm blown away, but at the same time, they'll get the job done. You got Dalton Schultz, solid tight end. He can also block. Brevin Jordan's more of a gadget receiving option. He's healthy now, which is good. So he'll give him a little flanker, and then you got Cade Stover, can be a backup in line guy. Lucas Shea is going to be competing for a roster spot here if they do decide to keep 4. Ultimately, that's going to be something they'll have to make a tough decision if they want to go an extra defensive player or an extra tight end or an extra running back. Like, there's a lot of possibilities here. But for right now, I'd say those 3, Jordan, Stover, and Schultz, are penciled in at the moment. On to the running back room. Even though Joe Mixon's injured, I think they'll be okay. I really do. I think Woody Marks and Dameon Pierce will be able to step up behind Nick Chubb. Hey, Nick Chubb still got something in the tank now that he's hopefully has another year fully to get healthy. I'm excited to see what he looks like here for the Houston Texans. But overall, I think Woody Marks will be able to help them out a lot in the receiving game. So that's really where Mixon would be able to, he's going to have to fill some shoes if you lose Mixon for quite a bit of time. So Marks can do that. And Dameon Pierce, sure. Fierce Pierce still can run in between the tackles, and so can Nick Chubb. So I feel confident they can get the job done. You got Johnson as your fullback. He should make the roster. Ogunbowale, he's going to be on the edge. Personally, I would want him to be on the roster. He's one of their better special teamers. So I like him making the roster. However, it's just going to come down to some of these other question marks, how many people they want to keep on the defensive line and, cornerback, etc. So Ogunbowale is going to be a guy that certainly is on the edge, is on the bubble, but I love him on the special team side of the ball. And Jahar Jordan's a dude to watch out for, to be a potential sleeper. He's a guy with some speed. So for running back ranking, even though Mixon is a little banged up, I still have it at 14th. I think they'll get the job done. And when Mixon gets back, they should be in a really good position. Quarterback, I rank it at 12. CJ Stroud. He's a really good quarterback, and I do think he is even though it's 12, he's definitely in that top 10 range. So just kind of looking at I have Geno Smith at 10, I got Jared Goff at 11, and then CJ at 12. I certainly would say, going forward with where he's at in his career, I think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. But I just, I gave the edge there a little bit to Geno Smith and Jared Goff, so you can totally come at me on that one. But I just want to clarify this. I definitely think CJ Stroud is a very good quarterback. And I certainly would say, if I'm picking a fantasy draft to get a quarterback, he would be in my top 10 to pick. So there's that. Davis Mills here, great backup. And I'm hearing rumors that he's going out so good, the teams are maybe even consider trading for him. So I would just say you keep him. He's a good backup just in case something happens to CJ Stroud. And you're like, what are you trying to jinx us out here? Are you saying our offensive line is that bad? Knock on glass here that he will not get injured. You got Davis Mills, though, as a good backup. Graham Mertz, probably going to start the season on the practice squad is my guess. We'll see how he looks in preseason, but I think he would be their number 3 emergency quarterback in case of injury. And you got Keaton Slows, maybe he can, give you that number 3 guy, who knows, but I think Mertz would go with that. But on to the defense now, and we look at the defensive line and the edge room. Oh, it's pretty insane. You got the Hunter, and then you got Mr. Anderson, 2 dominant edge rushers. It's right there with one of the best. I have him at number 2, and for good reason. You got some decent depth, even though Nico Autry's injured again. Derek Barnett's a little banged up right now, so Derek Taylor and Dylan Horton have been able to step up and be good, solid backups, and I still think they're in a good position, even if Barnett and Autry are injured. Horton and Taylor certainly should be giving them some nice depth, and obviously with those 2 guys out there, a pretty good spot. So Solomon Byrd is also a guy to watch out for to make the roster. Hamilton, unfortunately, the Rutgers UDFA is a little banged up. He's going to be done for the season, so maybe he's a guy that next year he can come out here and try out for the football team. On to the interior defense line. This is where more of my concern would be at. You look at this group, Sheldon Rankins, Mario Edwards, more of their pass rushers in the room, and you got more of your run stoppers, Foley Fadakashi and Tim Settle and Tommy Togiai. Those are the guys that I see making the roster, those 5 guys. If they want to keep a 6th, then you're looking out for Kurt Heinisch, who I think is more of a practice squad candidate that they line up for injuries and whatnot. And then, you got some young guys out here like Tuafona and Davidson. I think Davidson is a legit chance who they picked up. Maybe he could end up sneaking onto the roster as a number 5 or number 6 guy on that interior. But this interior defensive line is certainly going to have to be a little consideration for this football team. Remember, Foley Fatukashi's a little banged up too right now. He's a little injured, so he should be good to go by the season. However, that's something to consider too. So their depth at the beginning of this season might be a little bit stringent, and we'll see how that comes along. Linebacker-wise, I rank it at 24. You got Henry To'oTo'o. I list here as the current starter, but hopefully Christian Harris gets an opportunity to get back. I mean, he's going to get every opportunity, but as of right now, it's been a little bit of a disappointment. I want to see what he can do, so maybe he can find that form from he did that a couple of seasons ago, but you do at least have a penciled-in starter with Azeez Al-Shahir. He's a solid linebacker. EJ Speed, I know, gives him some really good depth, and Nick Niemann as well. I've been hearing he's been rolling with the ones and, as the third linebacker even at times so far, the ones and the twos, so that's good to hear. You got Jake Henson. He is going to be fighting for a roster position, I'll say that. So, I would guess 5 guys end up keeping the roster on here, but Jackson Woodard, Casey Osai, and Jamal Hill all seem like practice squad candidates from me. Don't be shocked, though, if one of those guys sneaks in. You never know. But I think those guys are definitely practice squad candidates. Also, I just noticed I misspelled Christian Harris. So I'm sorry, Christian. I'm not a spelling whiz. I'll tell you that right now. I finished like second to last in my spelling in grade school. So it wasn't good either which way. So overall, with this linebacking core, even though it is 24th, I think they'll get the job done here. I'm not super worried about that. Henry To'oTo'o is a smart linebacker. He maybe has some coverage liabilities, but in general, I think they're in a good spot here with Al-Shahir, Harris. Maybe can have that resurgence, and they got good depth. So on to the cornerback room here, where it's breathtaking. It's amazing. Look at this group. Just, Derek Stingley Jr., Kamari Lassner, Jalen Petrie. And Petrie could also play safety for them, especially early on in the season. He might have to because of C.J. Gardner-Johnson's injury. Now, he avoided any sort of major tears or anything like that, so that's good. But he may be in question for week number 1, and Petrie has versatility. I just list him here at slot corner because that's where he spent the majority of his time last season. Now, they got good competition, though, for that slot position. So, Miles Bryant, Arthur Millette, both of those guys are really solid and certainly can step up and play for this football team. And, hey, Jalen Smith, another guy who can play inside out. He has definitely some experience there at USC. So they weren't done in the draft, man. They got some good depth at this quarterback position. You're going to be fighting it out. I think he's a guaranteed lock. If you say they keep 5 true corners plus Jalen Petrie, then I would say Jalen Smith, Kamari Lassner, Derek Stingley, obviously locks. And then you're going to have competition, I think, with Bryant, Millette. At least one of those guys ends up making it as a slot guy. And then maybe you have competition between D'Angelo Ross and Trayman Smith for another position. We'll see how it works out. Maybe they keep Millette even and Bryant over at both Ross and Smith. So definitely interesting. Overall, though, this quarterback room, it's number 1. I love it. Safety-wise, I have it number 8. Even though C.J. Gardner-Johnson a little banged up, maybe it lowers it a little bit temporarily. As I saw, it's nothing serious, which is good. So he should be back, at least for the majority of the season. Jimmy Ward, I knew he's got the alcohol thing or whatever. He may not be on the roster at this point. Who knows? But you got Kalen Bullock, who's a beast, had an amazing rookie season. You got Jalen Reed, unfortunately, is injured. So, yeah, there's been some injuries that creep up. I also include Jalen Petrie at least a little bit in this ranking, so that's why it's number 8. So I'm trying to balance these out. It was kind of tough ranking this safety room, I'll be honest. But I think they're a really good room. They've got playmakers in this back end, and it's an insane group when you have it all out there. So, and Stewart's a solid backup. Russ Geese might end up making the roster too with Ward and Reed being injured, and if Ward even makes the roster because of those. And with the coaching staff here, I rank up at number 15. I feel confident in this coaching staff. I have them above average. I mean, I don't know if they're an elite unit at this moment. I mean, you got some question marks. Nick Callie coming over from the Los Angeles Rams. He was the tight ends and the pass game coordinator. So, yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of unknown there with that, but, some optimism. Hey, when you come with the Sean McVay system, that always is a good thing, right? And on defense, you got Matt Burke as the DC. So DeMeco Ryans has shown to be a solid coach so far. I mean, of course, we're going to make some improvements going into year number 3, and I expect some improvements to be made in general. However, I overall would say this coaching staff is good. It's definitely, in that above average tier. They can certainly work their way into an above average elite tier down the line. But for right now, I think 15 is somewhere in the middle. I think that's fair. Here's my record prediction. I have them going 11-8, and ultimately they're a very, very good football team that has every chance to compete for a Super Bowl. The big keys for me, if they want to win a Super Bowl, is going to come down to that offensive line. Protecting C.J. Stroud, having a solid run game, of course, staying healthy with any of these football teams. Like teams that don't stay healthy typically don't end up going to the Super Bowl or winning the Super Bowl. It's just you got to stay healthy. Like that is so important because there's a lot of good football teams. And when you're getting down to the nitty gritty, it's critical. So that's a big factor. But for me, the offensive line, I would say why, if you had to tell me why they didn't make, tell me why. I know, sorry. But if you were to tell me why they didn't make the Super Bowl, it would because be the offensive line. So that is going to be a key for this football team. And Nick Callie and that OC this first year, how he comes along is why I have him here. Number 10, just that question mark. So we'll see how it all works out. But let me know, Houston, what do you think? I hope you guys have a good day.